Hello, everybody! It is the final episode of season 1 of the Bag Collection podcast. I want to thank everybody real quickly for coming along on this journey with me as I continue to learn how to edit and just work a podcast in general. I've been wanting to do something like this since I was a junior in high school, so to be where I'm at now is incredible to me. So again, thank you for all your love and support and the shares and the comments and the likes. It means the world to me and I appreciate you guys. My guest for this episode is one of my audition teachers from school, Jayce Bartok. So much love for you, dude. You're awesome and you're still killing it to this day. I hope you and your family are doing great. As always, like, comment, and share, guys. And season 2 will be back in 2022. Love you all.
Bryn!
Hi, Jayce.
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing much. How about you?
Good, you look great. I love your background.
Thank you.
This is amazing.
I know. I'm so glad you got to do this.
What is this background?
So, it's pretty much like all the Comic-Cons I've been to and the photo ops that I've gotten with people. And I'm also working on another, web series. It's called Talkin' Terror.
Okay.
It's mainly about horror. So,
Are you a horror fan?
yeah, I'm a big horror fan.
Did you see The Invisible Man?
I did not see that yet.
The remake? It's pretty good. Pretty scary.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it because I know my dad mentioned that he wanted to watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So any highlights behind you? Like any horror highlights?
I mean, to me, all of them would definitely be highlights.
How can I ask?
So I really love The Walking Dead. So I met a lot of that cast. So like I've met Andrew Lincoln, Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
Okay.
David Morrissey, Sonequa Martin Green, Denai Guerrera, John Bernthal.
Okay.
I've met some wrestlers because I since I was little, I've always loved wrestling too.
You gotta love WWE. I don't want you to freak out, but I did a movie with Norman Reedus. I know. See, I hope you're recording that. Look,
I am.
I know. And we were in class all those months, and it never came up.
Yeah, I met Norman too. He's really like chill, down to earth.
A nice guy. Yeah, he's like the coolest, like cool, like as in jazz record guy. He's like a cool guy.
Yeah, he's great. I loved meeting him too.
Yeah.
I met him twice.
Yep. Nice.
And then like I've met like Evan Peters, Chris Hemsworth, a lot of the Vampire Diaries cast, which is the majority of them are right here.
Wow.
Anthony Mackie, Stephen Amell, Katie Cassidy. So
I wish I had a wall. I have but not so well organized.
I get you. Well, the main reason why I got lucky because my bedroom is my basement.
Right.
So, I kind of like reorganized, and since we got our web series class second semester,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to do more. Like I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel anyway, so like why not take advantage of it while I'm at home where I can actually decorate and make a background and use it. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. You're good.
Here we go.
Yay, there he is.
Here we go. Oh, geez. I'm like so Zoom phobic, but yep, there we go. Okay, that's me. Yeah, that was very disturbing that you just saw my wife.
Prince.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'm just trying to change my views. Okay, good. All right. Is that okay?
Yeah, you look great.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, what have you been up to since like quarantine and everything hit?
Oh my goodness. Well, work-wise, after I saw you, right? I got like a bunch of really good gigs, right? All voice gigs, right? Like narrating nature on PBS episodes of nature. So I get to talk about little like robot animals that are introduced into their like communities out in the wild for this show called Fly in the Wild. And then just a bunch of commercials. So it was like literally like, okay, you know, go into the studio, record a commercial, that kind of stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, we, you know, because we live in Brooklyn, we, you know, things started to get like real, you know, you got that like real weird nervous feeling. You know what I mean? And we all got that everywhere, whether you're in Brooklyn or whatever. So they canceled our son's school because we were like, oh, they're never going to cancel his school. We're New Yorkers. And then they canceled it. So we were like, why don't we drive to Wisconsin? It was like a casual idea to check on my wife's, you know, parents because they're awesome, but you know, they were like, masks, gloves, that's crazy. So like kind of in a split second, we just sort of all like packed up the car, like kind of like an episode probably of The Walking Dead, where we're like, should we go? Yeah, you know, let's go right now, you know. So we like packed everything, and then like there was this whole moment where I was like, I'm just nervous, like I should call my agents and find out if there's going to be any work. And my wife was like, there's not going to be any work. And I was like, you know, I texted my agent, hey, so I was thinking about leaving town, like, is there anything I'm going to miss? And they were like, go now, you know, because everything, you know, everything like completely shut down. So we drove like 18 hours straight to Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we got out there, and as soon as I got out there, my agents were like, hey, so you know, you need this technology like Source Connect and Pro Tools because they want to book you for, you know, some more voice jobs. So I was like, I'm not the best technically, Bryn, like, but I'm very proud of myself that I like rose to the occasion and like downloaded some heavy duty software and bought some heavy duty subscriptions. And built like a little home studio, kind of like that one in my father-in-law's closet. So pretty soon after we got there, I started working, you know, like in the closet. So it was kind of like amazing, like to talk to these big advertising agencies, and you know, these like it was some jobs for like Cascade, and I do the voice of an antidepressant on television called Rexulti, and so just getting booked for those and like connecting with people, like an engineer in Austin, advertising executive that like lives in New Jersey, somebody in a studio in New York, and they're all on the call, and you're like kind of trying to process, you know, everything that's going on in the world with just these voices in the ether, in the internet. So was doing a lot of that, and then we were in the middle of I might have told you, beginning a documentary on Dita Von Teese.
Yep.
Do you know Dita? I think I have a picture of Dita. If you don't know Dita.
For those who don't know her.
For those that don't know Dita. Dita Von Teese. So we had done a documentary on Kevin Aucoin, the makeup artist, which I probably talked about in class, that's on Hulu, called Larger Than Life, the Kevin Aucoin Story.
Yeah, so, you did mention that.
Yes. So we were getting ready to go to Europe to interview her for the documentary because she was on a world tour for her, you know, her burlesque show, right? Very popular, a lot of fans, and it's a really cool show. And so we had finally, like, you know, gotten the okay from the bigger company that we're working with,
right, to
go to London and Paris.
Wow.
Yes. So before the Wisconsin, like, Walking Dead, like, you know, I literally like got in the car. I think my son said like, Dad, are you nervous about leaving the city? And I was like, and he was like, are you nervous about like going on the road? And I was like, maybe. I'm a little nervous. We might be a little vulnerable. And he was like, wait, what do you mean? Like somebody's going to smash our windshield and say, give me your hand sanitizer? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. Of course,
oh, that's funny.
None of that happened.
Did it really?
No, it didn't. No,
Oh,
no,
I
no,
thought you were.
no, none of that. And no, you're like into that Walking Dead. You're like Norman Reedus is gonna come up with like a crossbow and be like, put the hand sanitizer down. You know what I mean? But no, none of that happened. It was a pretty normal ride.
That's good.
Yeah. But before that, like a couple of days before, we were still trying to figure out how to get to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is some like kind of story about how much filmmakers persist in spite of like massive like disease. So we were like, what do you mean? Well, maybe there's some way we can get to Europe, right? So we were talking to our executive producer, and he was like, I think everything is like all travel to Europe is shut down. And we were like, you're sure? And then my wife, who is directing it, was looking at Dita's Twitter, and she was like, I think she's still, she just announced that she canceled her European tour,
Wow.
So that's kind of like probably a week or two before. You remember that, it's like early March.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, that sucked, but we were just like, okay, that was not like the priority on our mind. So that basically we packed everything, quickly and drove. But then, oddly, and I'm sorry, am I talking too much, Bryn?
No, I love it. Keep going.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's the purpose of this.
We
Yeah.
we got invited to this film festival. I should say specifically, I'm kind of like piggybacking on my wife's merits, but she got invited as a director, to, it's one of these, it's the Walla Walla Film Festival in Walla Walla, Washington. Very good festival, but they basically have this short film competition. So you get invited, of course, to make a short.
Mm-hmm.
So they invite like 9 people to make a short. So you're like, oh my God, I gotta like figure out how to like fund a short film, right? Which is not easy, right? Unless, you can do it, but unless you like make it on your phone,
Exactly.
you're like, how are we gonna raise the money to make this movie? So it has one sentence from which you should construct your story, which is 4 more years. So before COVID, right, 4 more years seemed like the main topic of the day, right? Like, who's going to get elected, right? Are we going to, what's going to happen to the president and the fate of our country? So we were kind of thinking of all kind of different ideas, and I was kind of, I'm like a writer. So the way that my wife and I work together on projects. So she directs the documentaries and I produce them. And then I write and direct the narrative films and she produces them. So it's kind of like a trade-off, but you never know like which one is going to go.
Right.
And when, because sometimes it takes a lot of money, as you know, being on film sets.
Exactly.
So my point, and I'm going to get to a point, Brent, I know it doesn't seem like I have a point, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to open this Diet Coke and take a drink, and then you're gonna drink your the red stuff that you're drinking.
Yeah, I started this, like, I'm trying to think of how to. It's like a gut health thing. It's called Plexus, and it actually has been very beneficial these last couple weeks that I've started it. It's supposed to really help me lose like size. Like I mean I'm average, but like I've never been too. I've been pretty hard on my body. I'm very insecure when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You look very nice.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm totally open to a good gut health drink.
Yeah.
Just saying gut health is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy, like just gut and health together.
No, it honestly is very important because you don't realize like your stomach and like all the stuff that's happening in your stomach connects with your brain, and sure. There's like so much weird cool science behind it, and I can go into that later, of course, but this is like I've been sleeping better. I've had less sugar cravings. I have more energy. Like even when I feel tired, I don't need to go to sleep because I still have the energy to keep going with my day. It's so weird, but I just feel so different in such a good way.
I'm sensing a sponsorship for your podcast. You know, I don't know what the brand is in the bottle, but I'm just saying down the road, I don't know, could be a sponsorship for the show.
Well, it's very weird because the woman, I should say, that got me into this, she's an actor. Her name's Kelly Collins Lintz. And her kids have, like, they're actors. They've been on The Walking Dead. So she got on this like 4 years ago, and she looked like she aged backwards. And it's just so amazing, like, to see, like, her befores and, like, where she is now and, like, the things that she's told me. Like, there's just stuff you don't think about that people should think about when it comes to your health. It's so crazy.
What's it called now? Now I'm hooked.
It's okay. So it's called Plexus.
Oh, Plexus.
So yes. So there's different things that you can do. There's skincare, there's gut health, and then I think there's also like one separate that's like weight loss, but it kind of goes with gut health. So the one that I use is called Triplex. So what comes with that is the pink drink. And then there's a BioCleanse pill and then a probiotic pill.
Oh yeah.
So
important, those probiotics.
Those are very important. So, I mean, you can go and buy probiotics and such anywhere. But then I was like, I really need to start taking care of myself more. But for me, I have to make sure I'm doing it for me, not for other people. That's also very important.
It is.
For people to know.
I'm an older married dude, so I know all about this. I know all about these things that you're talking about. But yes,
so the one that I use is called Triplex. And that's the gut health one. So that has the pink drink, like I said, then the BioCleanse and the probiotic. So I've been on it for a couple of days every 2 weeks now. And all you do is, like, when you wake up, you do one pink drink a day. So you'll pour the it's almost like you're putting the flavor in your water. I don't know how to describe it. It's like one of those sticks, and then you pour it in.
Sure.
And then I'm supposed to drink like 64 ounces of water a day with it. And that sounds like a crazy amount, but like you're supposed to drink, I think, about like 8 glasses of water a day anyways. So, I mean, that's the one thing I have to pick up on a little bit more. It's not that I don't want to drink water. It's just like, I don't really drink a lot of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, I'm already noticing a huge difference in like my mood and my feeling and everything in such a positive way.
Right.
And also what's cool is I've signed up a couple people with me. And now, like, after you sign up so many people, you get paid.
Oh, now stop.
No, exactly. So just signing up 3 people, I'm getting like $320. I sign up 3 more, it goes to $700. The more I add, the more
I get me to sign up, Bryn. You might get me to sign up.
I can definitely get you to sign up if you want to. I'm not even kidding. I will send you info. And like I said, there's other things that you can do besides just the gut health.
Well, no, it's right now. It's like really important. Your health. It's such a crazy time. I mean, it's such a stressful time. It's like,
especially right now.
But we had my wife came up with this idea to make a short about her dad, right? And our son, because our son is an actor, as you know from class.
Yep.
Little punk. And my wife's dad, Jerry, he's sort of been around like our films, and I'd written a part for him in my film, The Cake Eaters. And, there was always this thing like Jerry, everybody loves Jerry. He's like a very charming, personable, Midwestern dude. And so Tiff had this idea. He's her dad in real life is a photographer and likes to take a lot of, nature photography. So she had this idea that he is trying to win a competition that comes around every 4 years. And so he decides to bring his grandson along on this excursion to look for like a rare blue heron, which is like, they're not like super rare, but blue heron are kind of hard to find.
Right.
You just set out in the woods to look for one. And you have
Mhm.
to be near wetlands, and there's certain areas that they migrate, and they have little herons, and they fly to Mexico, and they fly to Canada, and they're really cool,
Wow.
kind of great. Do you know what they look like?
No, I actually have never heard of the bird. So like, yeah.
Yeah, they're like
Okay.
blue. They're kind of like, they got like a bit of a gray blue mohawk, and they're very dramatic birds to be in North America.
Okay.
And they're like egrets or swans, white swans. They're kind
Oh,
of,
okay. Okay.
you know,
Gotcha.
they more stand up on one leg like flamingos,
Hmm.
but as opposed to swans. But anyway, so I thought, wow, that's a really cool idea, because that's something we could pull off if we went to Wisconsin.
Right.
So around Easter, we were gonna fly. Like I said in class, is like, you got to assemble your mafia, your team.
Mm-hmm.
So we were gonna fly our cinematographer, our sound guy, and our other producer Kelly, and we were gonna fly them all to Wisconsin and stay for like a week during Easter break and have like a great time and shoot this, like, it's about a 10-page short, because the grandfather takes the grandson is obsessed with TikTok.
Love it.
He
Love
does
it.
not want to go looking for a bird in the woods.
Right.
He just wants to,
Be in
do
that.
do the
Yep.
TikTok. And so my son is obsessed with TikTok. And so, there lies the drama. The earnest grandfather wants to take the grandson out. So of course they get out there, and they kind of, getting into little skirmishes, because he just doesn't want to get off his phone, and the grandfather wants to go roam, and of course then they get lost from each other.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Then right
Great.
when the grandson finds the grandfather, he has actually found a blue heron, and he's trying to take the picture. And I'm giving all of this away, but I'll send you a clip for your show, because we're finishing the edit.
Yeah.
And grandson's TikTok goes off. The bird flies away.
Oh no.
Later that night,
Oh.
looking through his photos, and right when he's trying to turn off his phone, he snaps a picture of the bird in flight. Goes to the grandfather, and they have it has a happy ending, because he has
Oh, I
that photo
love
now.
that.
So
Yeah.
this very sweet kind of simple story. And what to me was fascinating is, as we were leaving Brooklyn, right where I am right here, I am not like, as you know, an actor and a writer and a director and a producer, but I am not a cinematographer. I'm not a sound guy. I know the rudimentary, stuff about, like, a little bit from being on sets, but
Exactly.
we don't own like a big fancy, like, movie camera, right? Or big fancy lights. I do have like a DSLR Canon, right, that
Mhm.
we used to shoot some of our documentary. So as we're running out the door in this crazy march, my wife said, I grabbed the camera, and we both had the same idea. She said, grab the camera. And I grabbed this mic I've never used, and my laptop, of course. And we had this crazy idea in the back of our heads that maybe when we're out there, we would shoot this film, right?
Yeah.
So lo and behold, we get out there, and we tell our cinematographer, who stayed in Queens here, that we're going to do this. So he FaceTimed, right, for all of production, right?
Wow.
I was the sole crew member. So I shot it, did sound, and literally by sound, I mean like finding a stick in the woods and duct taping a microphone to it.
Wow.
Or I had to order like a really fancy voiceover mic. So, but like, and our laptop. So we used the camera we brought with us, my father-in-law's still camera, which has a movie function, and we shot this, like, I think it's going to be like, it's like 12-minute. We shot the film while we were out there. So, like, no crew, like, no slate, you know what I mean? And
Right.
made it like with nothing, Bryn. And I have to tell you, it's one of the coolest things we've ever made. And
I
it
love that.
was really hard. We almost got divorced like 3 times, maybe 4. Well, yeah, because I'm like, we're both directors,
Right.
right? And
Oh, so
technically,
you were button heads the whole time, pretty much.
yeah, because I'm like there with like headphones on, a laptop on my lap in the passenger seat of the car, operating the camera, right? Filming my father-in-law's coverage, right? My son's in the back and my wife's in the back, like directing, and the DP, and I'm also trying to show him the shot with FaceTime. Yep. Yeah. So
Wow.
it made for a completely, and my father-in-law had never really acted before. So
Right.
I was like a little short. You gonna say hi to Bryn, buddy?
Oh,
It's my
hi.
son Jackson.
Hi.
I was telling Bryn
Oh,
about Last Chance, the movie,
Oh, yeah.
and
he's so sweet.
sweet, very sweet guy, good guy. But I would tell my father-in-law, like, you gotta hit your mark, Jerry. And
Right.
my wife would be like, "Don't yell at my dad. You know
No.
what? Why are you yelling?" And I'm like, if he doesn't hit the mark, he's not going to be in focus. And like, by focus, it's literally like almost like something we would be doing in class. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like manual, and my friend, our DP, like telling me, but like, we're trying to make it as professional as possible. But that's literally me being like operating and looking through like the back of a still camera.
Exactly.
Like not a monitor, not a, a focus puller, just like, so it was like, and for me, it was super creative because we lost, our signal to the DP a lot. So once I figured out like, the proper settings through, ended up shooting for 5 days, like a weekend, and a pickup day.
Gotcha.
I was able to like, learn so much more about the camera and the f-stop and the ISO and all this stuff that like you hear about, but how to make it look like a film, not like an autofocus, like, oh, this is a cool shot on my Instagram, but like
Right.
how really, how to really adjust the settings. So I was able to like do some really creative stuff, and that he liked, and was like, it ended up being in the movie. So I was like my like DP, not in my future, but it's exciting when you really cool process. What it taught me was that that you really don't need anything to make something special.
It's crazy it's really crazy to realize something like that. Like you could literally be using a Canon camera or your cell phone for that matter, and
Yep.
and then to put it all together and see the final product with literally just like a small crew or no crew, or just the minimum what's the word why am I blanking on the word equipment to
Yeah.
use. It's very cool to see what you can do with all of that.
Yes.
You
It
know,
really made me
so
think because, as we were looking to raise like a big chunk of money to make this, right?
right.
And we were looking to make a big chunk of money to make, you heard me talking about Prince of Soho, right? These are my storyboards that are, as you can see, I'm a really bad artist, but these are like, so we have a really excellent cast attached, but we need like, like $2 million, right? Which is, that's out of the realm of like, oh, I can figure this out, but with this experience, during the quarantine taught us was that like, sometimes, it doesn't happen so much anymore, but like that Sundance kind of phenomenon where someone will have literally made a film with their laptop and like a Canon camera and a mic, and they, by force of will, they just, we didn't have any choice. That's all we had. And technically, I wasn't even going to call SAG because I would have, I thought about it because Jackson's in the union, and because that was like, they would like call the police. I mean, not the police, but you know what I mean. They'd be like, "You're not allowed to shoot right now. Like you're not allowed to do production right now."
Exactly.
They may have said that, they may not, but I mean, they might not have been like, "Oh, okay, so you're quarantining with your grandfather, your father-in-law, and that's your son, and your wife is the only other crew member. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you would be able to explain that. But like, because we were in Wisconsin and we were shooting in these like nature reserves, there was like nobody. You know, you go out there and there's like nobody. And then the tricky part for us was like, how are we actually going to find a heron on cue? Right? So there's these wildlife reserves. You know, they have some in out by Pittsburgh, or, you know, like, you know, different sanctuaries where birds will come for certain parts of the year. But there's no guarantee you're going to walk in. It's not like a zoo.
Exactly.
You know? So we shot for a couple of days, and then I think we agreed that when we found a heron, right, we were just going to have to shoot no matter what.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So we shot for 2 or 3 very stressful days, and then we had, you know, that Monday, I'm walking our dog right by their house because they live in this condo on this little bay of the Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
So I'm walking our dog, and I look through the reeds, and I see like a blue heron, you know, by the road. And I'm like, oh God, I'm so tired. I do not want to shoot today. Right? Very stressful. Divorce. Right? Screaming, you know, like divorce and screaming. Like Jackson, like stormed off the set, got into a fight with the director, who happens to be his mom, was ordered off the set because he's done some movies. So he was giving Grandpa the business, you know?
Right.
Like, try to hit your marks next time, Grandpa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What? I didn't hear the line, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know when my cue is because I need to hear the line. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
I'll
so
be in my
funny.
trailer. Yeah. So I was like, I wasn't really looking forward to that stress. And I was like, so I go back to my in-laws' little condo and I say, there's a heron out there. And they're like, well, we got to shoot. And I'm like, I grab the camera, my microphone on the stick. And of course I go and I try to sneak up on the heron because I'm like, at least if I can get some B-roll on a long lens of the heron flying away, you know what I mean? And then if I get lucky, I can put the 2 actors into the same shot with the heron
Right.
to sell it.
Exactly.
You got to sell it. You can't just, you know, we thought worst case scenario, we would just shoot a heron and cut it in. But, you know, viewers are really smart, even though this is an independent short film. Wouldn't it be great if you can send the 2 actors in with the same shot? Mm-hmm. Then you can do their coverage. You know how movies work when the bird flies away. But you need one shot where they enter, you know what I mean?
With the bird there, yeah.
I creep up on the heron as soon as I put my tripod down. And it's like, I would say it's like 150 feet away. I mean, it's not close. It looks at me and flies right off. I know. So who comes out? The director, my wife, with our dog, right? My father-in-law, who's like kind of stumbling around, and you know, and we can't find Jackson, right? And I said the bird flew away. So we all go looking, right? And then my wife, I hear her screaming that, you know, because it flew off and it landed in another part of the you know, the swamp. I guess they call it a marsh. Okay. So we find it. I get the camera set up, you know, and I can't get the DP on the phone. And I'm like, okay, this is the moment. I'm gonna have to do my thing. Just try to keep everything in focus, get the right settings. It's literally like our class, but like at gunpoint. I'm gonna have to like block it out and just this is the moment. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I get the camera set up. I shoot some long lens stuff of the bird. You know what I mean? And then I switch lenses and then I send the 2 of them in, right? And then we try to get the heron to fly off, and this time it won't fly off. But then, of course, you know, like my son screams or something and it flies off. So then we got it.
Nice.
And then like a whole other week later, we shot the reverse of them being like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And then I think a week later, we knew we needed some close-ups of my father-in-law, you know, kind of like being upset that the bird flew off. And my son apologizing. And that was a challenge because, you know, from class, acting is about the eyes and it's about the moments that you don't,
Exactly.
the small moments. So it was a great exercise for him, because at first he was doing big things like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I kept pushing him, and, you know, the director kept getting mad at me. And of course, then there was one take where he just like looked, and when the bird flew off, he was like, you know what I mean? And it was just like that,
The littlest thing, the little simple things are, yeah.
the little simple things. So it was such a great experience, and it kept us all like vibrant and going, our little group. And then when it ended, we were so relieved, because it was really stressful. But we like were kind of lost for a couple weeks. We really missed it,
Right.
you know, that experience. But anyway, that film festival is like in early July, so we're debating, it's actually still happening in person. So we're debating if we're actually going to get on a plane and go or not, and premiere it, you know, on the big screen, or if it's not, we're not ready to fly yet and do all that.
Exactly.
But this experience has taught me that, like, you just got to make it happen, because work is bananas right now. So that's kind of what we were doing. And then, like, with Prince of Soho, I think we're trying to figure out, Dita is going to be easier to pick up, because we had made a sizzle, which I can share with you as well. We flew to LA and shot her New Year's Eve show at the Orpheum Theater.
Wow. Okay.
We did a big sold out New Year's show with, you know, all these women dressed as her that come, and it was incredible. So it was a lot of hoops to jump through, and we had to raise a little bit of money, but we went and we shot her New Year's Eve show. So we shot her pretty much for like 48 hours straight.
Wow. Okay.
And
Awesome.
we cut together this beautiful 2-minute sizzle reel, you know, to pitch it to networks.
Right.
And in the middle of the quarantine, the executive producer calls, and he's like, hey, a lot of people really like this. Of course, it's good, but it's also like nothing's in the pipeline. Like, nobody can make anything.
Exactly.
So we were like, okay, how can we keep the project going? And we had gotten like about 100 and some of her archival tapes that we had been sitting on. So we were like, how can we figure out how to transfer them? But then, like, they're a big entertainment company, Matador, and they have, you know, there's a lot of COVID-19 protocol. Like, we couldn't just send our friend Kelly in LA to go like bing bong, like pick them up.
Exactly.
There's like insurance, you know, so it was a big hurdle to get the tapes back from them. But then there was also a cost to transfer them. And then that company is like, all our funds are frozen, because, you know, everything's frozen, right?
Right.
So you see the look on your face. That was my wife's deep frustration.
Yeah.
But we've gotten through that, and we managed to transfer a few of the tapes through our network.
Nice.
And we're going to add that into the sizzle. And it looks like we spoke today with the executive producers, and it looks like the project is going to begin fall, winter.
Nice. That's really good. A lot of stuff is starting to pick back up, which can be scary, but it's also very relieving and exciting, because it's not just like us, like every person that is an actor is hungry for work now. We have been out of work in just the entertainment industry in itself for 3-4 months now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really good to get back out there. And plus, there's going to be a lot more work now, because I know for a fact people have been writing and trying to come up with ideas to make more content, because we're going to need more content here soon.
We've been trying to listen to a lot of insider panels about production returning, what it's going to do to budgets. You know, that it's going to add like 20% to budgets for, you know, COVID-19 specialists, all the PPE, all the, you know, the insurance added, all the added costs of sterilization, and just, you know, the whole thing. So we're sort of trying to figure out, like, after this experience with Last Chance, the short, we're like, how could we do Prince of Soho like that? Like, I think one of the biggest roadblocks, and we may or may not, because you're dealing with a couple well-known actors, their agents, the union, like me, myself, I was joking with a friend like a couple nights ago. It was just last night. We do a Zoom with we do like a movie night with a lot of our friends on Zoom, like all of us are doing. And a couple of our friends are union crew members, and they were saying like they're not going to return. They don't want to put themselves in that situation unless it's something really good, right? Of course, they have that choice because once you get in the union and the crew, it's a little bit more like, you practically get a call from the union rep, and he's like, "Hey, I got a job for you." But
Right.
as actors, we know you don't get a call from the union rep saying, "Hey, I got a job for you." You got to go audition like 10,000 times. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you do a great job, and then like the next day you're like, is this working?
Yep.
Is my phone charged? Okay. Did anyone call me in the lot? No one called. Okay. I'm going to try my agent. Did you guys call me? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's constant, So we were giving our friends the business because they were like, well, we're just going to stay in our upstate home, because they work constantly on like, Mr. Robot, Blue Bloods, they're like big crew positions. And they're like, they were talking about like, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've been reading, like, are they only going to shoot instead of 12 hours? Are they going to shoot 8 hours? Are they going to, what's the protocol going to be for when they're like, hey, Jayce, you booked an episode of Law and Order, and you're going to work 4 days. And, like, what's the whole protocol going to be?
Exactly. Like, you don't know if they're going to have to test us almost on a daily, but then it still takes time for test results to come back. So
yeah.
you just don't know how they're going to go about, if they're going to test us, how long, if they're going to keep us on set less than usual, how they're going to work that out. Because I started hearing a little bit of they're going to green screen a lot. And that's not a terrible idea, but then it also gets a little hard, I guess, on the actors, because you want to be able to work with like your other, like, why can't I think of words today? But like, you want to be able to work with the other people that you're on with this movie, TV show, whatever. And of course, like as actors, it's our job to, like, even if they're not there, if it's like a stand-in, or if there's nobody there, period, you have to be able to work with that and work around that. But it's still the fact of like, you want to still be able to have everyone together, but because of circumstances, it can get a little bit worrisome because you don't want people getting sick, because then that'll delay production more. And there's just so many different factors that goes into it, and it's just really scary to read about, to think about, and figure out in general. So
it is. I mean, I do think eventually, obviously things will return to like the new normal. But for the immediate future, I know that like documentary, I think Dita will get made, or we will start making it, because you have like the director, producer, a DP, and then either the director or the producer could do the sound. You know what I mean? You could essentially do like a 3-person crew.
Right.
You could do a 2-person if you really, but like if we were going to go to Dita's house, or like we talked to Marilyn Manson, her ex-husband, like if we're going to do these kind of very focused interviews and you have like a 3-person crew, and you've all been tested recently, you wear masks, and it's a much safer and smaller, and you're not dealing with I'm totally about the union, but there's no union like governing, you're doing that, right?
Exactly.
But like trying to get back to the big shows and stuff, I bet there will be a lot more green screen, like the way they do The Mandalorian.
But it's still, at the same time, it just gets stressful because you want things to be the usual, the normal, and we're not going to completely get that. But I mean, we got to make the most of it. Honestly, that's the best thing we can do.
Well, we were saying one of the positives is that, like, I think it's definitely already changed the movie viewing experience in the theater, obviously,
Mhm.
right? And we've all like jumped into Netflix and Hulu and Amazon even farther, right? What a positive is, like you were saying, is that hopefully with Black Lives Matter, um, we're going to really think about the stories we want to tell, right? And make them really resonate and make them really important in a
100%.
way that like movies and television always reflect the culture, right? Like I love the late 60s, early 70s cinema, when movie studios were sort of floundering before Jaws, before Star Wars, and they were like green lighting these crazy movies,
Mhm.
um, and I like to think that kind of content is going to come in. It might not come in through the movie portal. It might come in through the streamers.
Yeah.
But shows like Rami, shows that are like, okay, there's one very talented person that has a really strong point of view about a world and characters and an idea. Let's take a chance on this person and let them create something on a modest budget that has real content, real
Exactly.
you know, that's really much more meaningful. So I think, not that there's not tons of great stuff already, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you because I mean they're bringing a lot of the films that got delayed to actually giving dates and possibly just streaming them. Like for example, like to just hop on like horror real quick. Like I don't know if you've seen the Michael Myers films like Halloween.
Of course.
Um so they made a new one in 2018, of course. So now they had filmed, I don't know if they finished filming, but they were filming a second one called Halloween Kills,
Hmm.
and that's supposed to come out October 16th. I'm pretty sure they did finish filming, but just to not
Yeah.
to put stuff out there that I'm not 100% sure about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, continuing, yeah. So they plan to bring it out October 16th, and they might just end up streaming it because we don't really know when movie theaters are going to be open or how many people can go into movie theaters.
Yeah.
Because you have to talk about social distancing as well. Because I know a lot of places they don't require masks as much, but they're still with social distancing. But I still think wearing masks is probably the best thing to do right now because
For
it's
a
still
long time.
pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you just never know. Like stuff can just stream from here on out for at least the rest of the year, if not a little bit of next year even.
Yeah.
Just no.
I mean, it's really completely changed. I'm sure you've but like with the Oscar qualification, Emmy qualification, Golden Globe, like what is, you used to have to screen in a theater for at least a week in New York or LA, but like all that's like going out the window because, and then how do they monetize? Like, of course we rented, Trolls World Tour because you got to. Um, but stuff like and Invisible Man that was in the theater right when everything shut down,
Exactly. Now
and
it's streaming.
that
Yeah.
was one of the ones. And I know they're writing articles and they have those statistics of like, okay, if they anticipated it making 120 million in the box office, what how can you make that streaming? Like, what if we all rent it for $20? I don't know. Yes, I believe you can, but it's not the same. It's not the
Exactly.
same kind of thing.
Well, and then a lot of people don't go to the movies by themselves, a lot at least.
They
So
don't.
you're talking
Yeah,
about they make a lot of that money because you're talking about groups, if not at least a couple, going to see those films. So you make more money doing that.
yeah,
Whereas if you're streaming, you're only paying the $20 from that one television that purchased it
sure.
for that time. So
In
it's just,
concessions, yeah,
yeah,
they make,
yeah,
not that the studios do, but the exhibitors make most of their money with the popcorn.
exactly that too. So it's so weird,
It's weird.
and we just don't know what's going to happen or how that's probably where budgeting is going to be a huge thing to worry about too, because if
Yeah,
that's going to be the new normal, how are they going to make all that money back? 'Cause
exactly, Bryn. You know what you're talking about. That because we were talking last night with our friend, you know, our group is, one of the people in our group is a reality TV producer. So you have like your union actor, your union crew people, reality producer, no union. They're already back. She does 90 Day Fiance.
Mm.
Big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Big. And they did like a quarantine, I don't know if it was like a mini series or they did quite a few episodes in quarantine.
Mm.
So they were able to continue production because reality, like documentary, you're talking about a smaller crew, no real union jurisdictions, right? And you're talking about, you know, like The Bachelor or 90 Day Fiance, you're talking about people that are real people that sign a release. They're
Mm-hmm.
getting paid something, but they're not actors.
Exactly.
They're reality. They become reality stars, right? And no disservice, I love reality TV, you know, this
Yeah, exactly.
not saying it, but it's just different. So she was talking about how, you know, I was saying like, okay, so now I have to, and I'm super grateful and down with it, but now when I do a voiceover, I have to like go into the studio, like do some engineering, right? Do some, you know, send like there's a remote engineer that captures takes, but I also have to send takes. There's a couple different jobs that I now have to do in order to do the original job, right? You know, so we're all saying, well, now, you know, the buyers, for lack of a better word, they're getting so much more out of it. I don't think they're looking at it that way right now because people are just trying to figure out how to work. But the
Right.
bottom line will be altered, right? They may not go back to saying, do we need to rent this fancy studio, right? Because New York is filled with them,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful studios for this actor to go into, or should he just go, you know, the look on your face, I was like, I put a studio in my closet, right? Like, or does he just need to go into his closet, you know? And we eliminate X, Y, and Z from the budget, right? There's just going to be repercussions, but that they're working with so much less money because of what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, their budgets, you know, are halved and quartered. So it's not like they're like, we're now going to save money by having you do this. They're like, we actually just, in some cases, they were like, we don't have the money right now for the things we used to have because
Exactly.
of the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there's going to be already it's a lot of changes. It'll be interesting to see. You know, I try to picture it in my head. I try to picture. I'm like, I can see it right now. Me sitting like on the steps of like a little trailer, wearing a mask. You know, and the AD walks by. He's wearing a mask. He like takes it off for a second. He's like, "Go for Jack. Go for Jack. Copy. Oh hey, yeah, they're ready for, you know, puts the mask back on, and you trot over there, and then like you rehearse and you're talking to your co-star and you're all like, everything's, you know, no fever, I got tested today, and should we run the lines, and you're like trying to make like corny actor jokes,
Right.
you know, and be like pretend to cough and be like, just kidding, you know what I mean? And then
Yes.
like they're ready for picture, and you take off your masks and you shoot the scene,
Mm-hmm.
put the mask back on, walk back to the trailer, sign your paperwork, right, and go home. I can foresee that in the not
Yeah.
too near to distant future, whatever the expression is, right?
Exactly.
It's gonna be weird, and I think it's gonna take a long time before you're in, you know, those big lines where you're getting the food and your craft service and you're talking to everybody and you're, you know, all that stuff. But it'll come back.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
At least that's the hope. That's the hope, for sure.
Oh yeah, it has to. I mean, the movies or TV, they've gotten us through, you know, the Great Depression and this, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to go away. I guess it's just the way, you know,
That the
we were-
process of it.
the process. And we were talking about on the phone, like what you're willing to go to work for if you have that choice. But actors don't usually have that choice,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, right? No one's been acting for months, right? So
Exactly.
like, you know, like with the voice work I've been doing, they're like, if a friend of mine was like, I haven't gotten an audition in 2 months because he hasn't done this kind of thing where he's tried to build a remote studio. And that's the thing, is like, if you can't step up to whatever the business is asking for, they just say bye-bye. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people were definitely going to take advantage of, like, when they do start getting auditions again, and when they do get the jobs again. Like, I don't really see anybody turning them down just because we've been out of work for so long. And just, again, like, we need content. Like, we're still getting some, don't get me wrong, but with Netflix, like, you binge watch. That's kind of like the thing when it comes to Netflix or Hulu, like, you binge watch it. So, like,
Yeah.
once that's done, once the new content is, like, you're done watching it, it's like, now I need more. But where am I going to get it? Because nothing's happening right now.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder, you may know, how far into the reserve have we gone with, a lot of the shows were still in production. Like, one of the last jobs I did was a table read for this new show called Echo on, like, ABC. So do you watch Veep or no?
No, I do not, but I've definitely heard of it and seen, like, commercials and stuff for it, but I've never really
Yeah, so I did a table read for Veep out at, it was like mid-March, like right before we left. Like, the script was still in my backpack when we left, and the Suzanne Ryan, who casts like Blind Spot and like tons of shows, so she called me and she's like, "Hey, will you come and do the table read, right? And just read like all the guest stars, right?" And I was like, "Sure," because sometimes you do those things and you're basically reading for the head of the network and everybody, and chances are that they say, "That guy was really good, he should be on the show."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're all at the table, and this is right when COVID started, so people didn't know. This was like the no shaking hands period that just came out like a day before.
Right.
And it wasn't even the mask, no mask, no social distancing, like that wasn't really being talked about yet. And it was shooting at the Izod Center in New Jersey, which they converted to a soundstage. So, like, one of the actors that I was working with she's like a super germaphobe, so she was super nervous, understandably. And the AD came up and tried to shake my hand, and I was like, no, I'm good. And she's like, "Totally get it," right? And I remember like hand sanitizing like every 5 seconds. But
Yeah, because I'm a germaphobe too. I feel that.
it was not, I think this was at the time there's only like 3 or 4 cases in New York City, right? And we did the reading, and then Reed was like, "Jayce," and I was like, "Hey man," and he was like, "You're playing Brock, right?" And I was like, "I just got the call to do the reading." He was like, "You should be playing Brock," whoever Brock, I think literally he's like the FBI mole that gets killed in the pilot, so like, and it has like a bunch of scenes, but then of course, there's always that character that in the pilot that like you think the show's going to be about them, but then they get killed, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh yeah," but then in the back of my head, I was like, "I killed Brock in the reading." I was like, "I might get the call to be Brock," right? And we were like talking. I know this is real actor stuff, Brand. You're going down the rabbit hole of actor stuff. So, but I think back to that now, and I'm like, one, the pilot was supposed to start shooting in the next couple of days, and I'm pretty sure they probably shot for like 10 days, right up, like things shut down around the time we left. So I've always wondered, like, did they finish the pilot? Did they actually shoot it?
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, I was not on a show like that was like shut down, but that was pretty close. I mean, I wasn't like, it was just a table read, but
Right.
at the same time, though, I was like, we were in a table reading room, Bryn, with like 50 executives and then 50 more on the television in Los Angeles. And I think back to that now, like, we would never do that right now.
Oh, exactly.
We
And
wouldn't go into like a no air conditioning ventilated room and sit at a long, what these readings are like, at a long table, and the director is like, kind of introduces everybody, and then you read the pilot so the network can hear whether it's worth spending, $5 million on, because
Mhm.
they're going to start shooting like the next day.
Mhm.
So I think back to that thing and I'm like, oh my God, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen? Well, Bryn, I don't know if I have any more stories. I mean, I do, but
Well, I mean, I know you were talking a little bit about the documentary, and then of course your film, The Prince of Soho.
yeah.
So I mean, are you just continuing to save more money for both of those? I know you said the documentary will probably get picked up a lot quicker than your
Yes.
film. So, are you mainly just kind of trying to figure out how to do how you did with the short film as well with that film?
We don't know yet. I mean, like, so Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria and Finlay McMillan are attached to Prince of Soho, two great young actors.
Mm-hmm.
And Yul Vasquez, who's a really wonderful actor, is like my contemporary, and Annie Q, a great young actress. So we had raised some money for that film, but I guess I haven't wrapped my mind around it yet. I mean, I think making the short the way we did taught me that you should not be stopped by lack of budget, right? Because a lot of times, as you know, you just can't raise the money in the project. It's so hard
Yeah.
when even when you're working inside the studio system, and in that way it's even harder because sometimes you're just like in this endless circle of development, you know and maybe you're getting paid a little bit to do a draft of the script or to prepare to direct something, but then it falls apart and it goes over here, you know but it's so hard that it's very easy after like a year of trying to get something made just to be like, oh my God, but no, I'm not. This is a very special project for me because it's loosely autobiographical and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we haven't really figured out yet how. I think my wife is like, should we talk to Finn and say, are you, like, what's people's tolerance for how to make it, just in terms of like COVID and safety. I know we're not in phase 4 yet in New York City, so you can't just go shooting stuff. You can in Wisconsin Nature Reserve, right?
Yeah.
But like, you can't just go making something. But you know, I think there's got to be a way to make it for sure in the near future that doesn't involve, that is smaller in scope, right? Because the first act of the movie takes place in a Soho apartment, the second act takes place at Coney Island, and the third act takes place out on the streets of Soho at night.
Right.
So it sounds simple. When it was budgeted, it's obviously, you're talking about like shooting like 12 days at night in New York City just to do, like the night stuff,
Exactly.
and it's complicated, you just like lights and trailers and the whole rigmarole. But like, is there a version of the film that is safe yet without all those bells and whistles? I think there is.
Yeah.
I just haven't wrapped my mind around like having, when do I say like I'm going to start making it like this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and how. But I appreciate you asking because I think I'm not quite yet in the headspace to try to sort of figure it out. I did communicate with the cast in quarantine, and they were all like, woohoo,
Well,
But
that's
then when
it's
you,
good. It's good that they're like still all in. Is probably the best way to put it because that will make it a little easier on you and crew as far as like how to plan, like
yeah,
with them and just in general. So it's good when it's all like everyone's like this tight unit. It makes it so much easier. I feel like.
no, definitely. I guess it's sort of like you have to go by that thing in here where you're like, if I want to make it, I'll figure out a way to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I could make that short film literally with, you know, you know, then you can do it. you know? So I think that's kind of, yeah, our focus is going to be, it looks like Dita is going to sort of make its way toward being pitched to places pretty soon.
That's
And
good.
it'll a little bit reverse model, instead of making it and then trying to sell it. This would be more the traditional model where they sell it, then you make it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Which is like the way you want, right? You want to
exactly.
basically like sell the sizzle or the idea and then go make it. So I think with Prince of Soho, with narrative films, that's much harder, that scenario. Yes, you can have like a terrific cast and you can like pre-sell the film based on the cast, which we do have a really good cast, and we sort of were making inroads to do that. You know, it's funny, Burnett, some of this stuff I haven't thought about. We
Now
were
I'm getting the wheels turning.
we were making inroads with this company based on Sydney, right? And we had you know, like the traditional thing they do where they take around like the script and the deck and all that stuff, and they try, you know, IFC and HBO and Amazon and all these places.
Right.
A24, right? So that was all happening right when everything started to go crazy. So yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, I think I'm excited by just thinking about how to approach it with just much smaller in scope, more
Right.
personal. This is a personal film,
hmm
you know? You got me thinking, Brent.
I'm here for.
I haven't really allowed myself to think about it because I didn't want to bring any like um negativity, because it's very easy to get negative.
Oh, for sure. Well, and then that's another thing too. Like, you just have to try to stay as positive as possible. But then, I mean, sometimes it can be hard, especially under these circumstances, because you just don't know what's gonna happen. It's just like an unending. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
it is. So like, because on the industry side, there was a lot of talk like in the deep quarantine, like everybody's reading scripts right now. Everybody's reading, and you're like, yeah, but they're also like homeschooling, right? Trying not to like get addicted to, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? They're like just trying to hang on, you know what I mean? It's crazy times. So, I think it's been a creative period, like you said, where a lot of people have been writing scripts, thinking about things, trying to like, you know, use this time to create. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not in that aspect of the business. I don't know how much like big business is being done. You know, I do read Variety. I see like it seems weird when like there's like giant protests and they're like, you know, insert big Hollywood star signs on to whatever, and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
okay, really, right now? But
Exactly.
you know, I guess there is, you know, always that, you know, thing happening. So yeah, I don't know yet, but I do think that talking to you has given me this idea that there's a way to make that film very personally and smaller in scope, and that would probably suit the film, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to get around with, I mean, we're all going to have to deal with it, like your onset COVID, you know, specialist, and you know, all the stuff that the union is going to require.
hmm
You know, there's no way we can make it non-union on the acting front.
Yeah.
So that even if we do it smaller in scope, we're still going to have to deal with like, I'm sure, you know, I haven't even read, there's like a 22-page thing now where like dressing rooms in terms of like what the amount of feet that every, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff. It's going to be a lot of stuff. You know, did you read there was an article in Variety about like the only film that actually shot during the quarantine?
No, I have not.
I mean, besides ours, but it was a TV movie that shot in Oklahoma. Yep, like an independent producer that was making like a $1 million TV movie to sell to like Hallmark or Lifetime.
Uh-huh.
And they had already like gotten way down the road in terms of like shooting.
Right.
Like they were like, we're going to go tomorrow. So they sort of scrambled and figured out that Oklahoma had like the lowest, case number, like I think like 0 case number at a certain point. And Oklahoma did not shut down.
Wow.
I don't think they ever officially shut down. So they were able to go there, and there was a very interesting article in Variety about all the stuff that they like invented. They quarantined, and oddly, it was pretty much like the handbook that's being written about what all the preventative steps that they did on set.
Right.
The thing that I wonder too about is about the theater, like when the kind of live theater experience
Exactly.
will return.
Mm-hmm.
Because the week before we left, we went to see Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf on Broadway
Nice.
with Laurie Metcalf and Rupert Everett. And it was one of the best productions of that play I've ever seen. And we were in the front row. We got like lottery tickets, which I think in retrospect we got because that was that week when things were, they were getting weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people were like, I don't think I want to go to the theater right now. I was at a friend's house the next day, and my wife texted me, and she sent me an article. And this is like early days, I think, when they were like really tracking everything. They were like, an usher at Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf has been diagnosed with corona. So I was trying to remember. I was like, who is that? When they handed the program, I was like, what usher handed us the program? And where were we sitting? In retrospect, it's preposterous for what's happened to the world.
Yeah.
It's just brutal. But yeah, getting back into all that, I'm sure Broadway, they're talking about it night and day. Like, are they going to block off 6 rows? And are they going to seat everyone 6 to 8 feet apart? And they're going to look at a quarter house? But then how are the performers on stage when you're singing? Because do you sing, right? You sing
A little bit.
a little bit, but there's so much spitting. There's so much, even more so than doing a TV show or something. I mean, there's like sweat. It's
Well, then you think about like people kiss on stage too. It's not like it just happens in movies. Like,
oh
we're
yeah,
talking about, like, I went to go see Mean Girls. I believe it was either December, January, or February. I know it was before everything started going down.
yeah.
And there's a lot of kissing and touching in that one specifically, I know for
Completely.
sure.
Yes.
And I loved it, but then it's also like, how are you supposed to get back to something like that when all of this is happening?
Mm-hmm. I know, yeah. Like in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, there's a moment where they exchange cigarettes, and then she kisses the young guy. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Bryn, this has been really great talking to you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got to do this again. It was so great to see you.
It was great to see you. You're really good at this.
Thank you.
You are good. I did not know how this was going to go. I mean, but I had a really great time. And you have a great way of like getting, an interview out of somebody. And I know this really well because my wife, as a documentarian, it's a real skill.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole life of a conversation. It's like an organism.
Exactly. Well, and I love talking to people. So I feel like because I enjoy like having conversations and actually getting to know people, that might be why it's easier for me to do something like this. So, and I mean, who knows? I mean, the world is weird. So like,
yeah,
people could see this and like someone can be like, hey, like your interviews,
right.
Do you want to maybe do something with us? Like, you never know.
You never know, Brent. No, seriously, I'm really glad that you're doing this, and I see you're good at this. Yes.
Thank you.
Because I was like, I don't know what to, it's such a strange time to talk, but it's such a great time to talk because everyone's craving connection and being able to, but yeah, you're good. Why? It was great seeing you. Let me know what happens. Let me know when you post it and what's next.
All right. Thank you so much. I will. Thank you again, Jayce.
Thank you. It was really fun talking to you. And let's do it again.
Yes. I
When
would
you have
love to.
like 1 million followers, or no, before then. Before then. When you have like 20,000 followers, you probably already do have 20,000 followers.
I wish.
But let's do it again, and I'll fill you in on what's happening with all this stuff.
I would love to. Yes, of course.
All right.
All right. Well, you have a good one,
Oh,
Jayce.
and you know what? I did a horror film, Bryn.
You did.
I did.
Talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, it's called Trapped Ashes, right? And it is really weird and really crazy. You can get it like on Prime probably or iTunes. Yeah, and each section is directed by a famous horror director. So there's like it's kind of like Creepshow. There's like 5 stories,
Okay.
and it's like Joe Dante who did Gremlins, the director of Poltergeist, I'm blanking. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the different directors. But my brother wrote it.
Nice.
Yes, he's a screenwriter in Hollywood, and he writes horror. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, literally, I might have to try and actually get his contact info off you because I've been working on a horror like script.
Okay.
Because when I was in high school, I wrote 2 one-act plays, and I directed them and put them on stage.
Right.
And one of them that I wrote my junior year, like I said, like I've been dying to direct and or act or both in a horror film.
Yeah.
And such. So I've been trying to figure out like how to get it out there to work with somebody on it and like possibly get it into actually making it.
Right.
So I'll probably ask you.
Bryn, reach out. Yeah, he's a big, he writes horror, a lot of horror, and he works at the American Cinematheque. He runs it, and they do all these big retrospectives in Los Angeles of, big directors. But he knows a lot of the horror peeps,
Wow.
Yeah, but Trapped Ashes, you will get a kick out of it. I'm like headless in it, possibly. My throat gets ripped out. Yeah. Yeah. It's really the only horror movie I've ever done. As you know, like that's not I like horror films and stuff, but like I happen to have not done, that's the only one. So when you were talking earlier, I was like, oh my God. You got to watch it. Let me know what you think. Shoot me an email. Trapped Ashes. And even if you forget, no, you won't. Trapped Ashes.
I have a pretty good, I will say I'm very lucky in a sense that I have a pretty good memory. Yeah. So, all right.
It's a cool movie. It's weird.
I will definitely look into it.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to run. It's great to see you.
Thank you again. Talk to you later, Jayce. Bye.
Bye.
Beautiful day, hey Jackson?
Uh-huh.
You know where we're going?
No?
We're going to the Wildlife Refuge. It's a breeding ground for great blue heron.
What does that mean?
Well, that's where the heron go to make little herons.
Cool.
Now, when we get out there, keep your eyes peeled. You know, this might be the last chance to take this picture.
Sure.
I got a lot to do this week, and then before you know it, the birds are gone for the season.
Exit right ahead, then, after 0.2 miles, turn left.
on, Jackson. Put that thing away.